I am Matt Pillar, and I too welcome you to the latest installment in our almost monthly series of Bioprocess Online live events. This one focused on the challenges and opportunities ahead for biosimilars developers is brought to you by Cytiva and Ecolab, who we acknowledge for their ongoing support of our programming. Now, on to the task at hand. Those biosimilar market opportunities and challenges I just mentioned were highlighted in a report dropped by IQVIA just yesterday, I believe. The long and the short of that report are these. Since 2015, biosimilar competition saved the U.S. healthcare system $36 billion at invoice prices, thus enabling increased patient access. Over the next decade, biologics with patent expirations will account for $234 billion in spending and invoice prices in the U.S. 1 year prior to patent expiration. This is a giant opportunity for developers. It brings huge potential for healthcare systems. Savings and the potential patient access implications are monumental, but none of this is as easy as it sounds. There are plenty of forces at play that could restrict the future potential of biosimilars, and those forces are central to our discussion today. So I've assembled a multi-perspective panel to tackle these issues, a panel I'm super proud of and honored to bring to the Bioprocess Online and Life Science Connect communities. Julie Reed is likely no stranger to any of you. She's executive director at the Biosimilars Forum, the leading advocacy group in the space. And she's a tireless lobbyist and educator. In fact, she moved a few mountains to be here with us this morning. And for that, I am so grateful. Julie's been a life sciences leader for more than 30 years, having served in executive roles, leading global corporate and government affairs for Pfizer, Hospira, and Coherus Biosciences, among others. Dr. Hetal Patel is VP of Medical Affairs at Celltrion, the company that launched the world's first mAb biosimilar not so long ago. So again, not much of an intro necessary here. Dr. Patel has a deep background in investigational drug and clinical pharmacy with experience spanning Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago, Greenwich Biosciences, Syneos Health, and Coherus Biosciences prior to joining Celltrion. Finally, Kaushal Joshi, JD, joins us all the way from Ahmedabad, I believe, in India. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. India, nonetheless, where a couple of hours ago, he wrapped up another day serving as Associate Vice President at Kashiv Biosciences. There, Joshi oversees the incredible volume of legal filing and litigation required to even play the biosimilars game. And we're fortunate to have that perspective with us today. Joshi previously managed IP for Lupin Biosciences and Glenmark Pharmaceuticals. And before becoming an attorney, he worked in research for Cadila Healthcare, Intas Biopharmaceuticals, and the Indian Institute of Technology. About a virtual round of applause to each of you for joining us, and a heartfelt thank you from yours truly. At this point, I'm going to begin peppering this panel with questions. But before I do, I want to encourage everyone who's listening, everyone who's dialed in, to do the same. This is an interactive forum. Julie, Kaushal, and Hetal are here for you, and they're all eager to address your questions, so bring them frequently. Julie, I'm going to start with you. I fired off some super high-level stats from that report that came out from IQVIA just a day or so ago. And you know, like, the numbers are the numbers. You're going to get different numbers here or there, but they're staggering regardless of your source. I'm hoping that you can reflect a little bit more deeply than I did on why this is a timely conversation, and perhaps share some of the hallmarks of the forecast for biologics that are coming off patent.
Oh, thanks, Matt, and thanks for having me here, and for putting up with my crazy schedule. There's, a little confusion, a lot going on in industry and in Washington, so appreciate your patience. But, this is an incredibly important time for the industry. And I think one of the first things to know is March 6th is the 10-year anniversary of the first U.S. biosimilar approved, Sarziel. And that is so important because we have 10 years of, we actually have a lot more than just 10 years, but 10 years here in the US of biosimilar safety and efficacy and lowering cost and increasing access for patients. So that's why we came to this industry. That's why we are creating this industry. So I think that is so important. We also have that over a decade of research and science and development at the FDA and around the world in biosimilars. So that experience shows us now is the time to evolve the industry. And people are very excited. We've always been excited about biosimilars from the beginning, about how important it was what we were doing, bringing these new lower cost medicines to the market, creating the science to develop a biosimilar. It's a unique science using, and Dr. Patel will be able to explain it much better than I will, but using critical quality attributes, using analytics versus repeating clinical studies. It's so important. But again, it's time for a number of key things to happen and to evolve. Number one, we need PBM reform, and we need to get the access to the lower cost medicines. Our industry launched 10 Humira biosimilars 2 years ago at 85% discounts. If you can imagine the tens of thousands of dollars that those Humira biosimilars could save. Yet the PBMs have blocked their uptake, and we have very little market share after 2 years. As this country is looking for cost savings, as this new administration is looking for cost savings, that IQVIA report yesterday was so important. There's over $100 billion in savings, close to $180 billion in savings, if there's biosimilar competition and if there's a biosimilar uptake. Matt, that's really huge because IQVIA is predicting that savings over the next 5 years. So I think that's so important as the country struggles with, increasing access to innovative medicines, to GLP-1s, to those type of things. That's the whole purpose of having a biosimilar or having a generic market, to bring down the cost for the older products, get them out there with cost savings so that the newer innovations can be accessible. I'll go on. There's other things we have to do. We have to involve the FDA review process. It has to be streamlined. We have, again, our companies, our members have launched in over 80 countries around the world. And we have billions of days, patient days that show the safety. So it's time for the FDA to change as well. It fits well with this administration's goal for efficiencies. We need to change the reviewers and the review times and some of the roadblocks and barriers at the FDA, and we can do that. The science shows it. The experience of our members and developers show it. We also have to continue to do things to incentivize patients and Medicare to use more biosimilars. If Medicare does not prefer a biosimilar that's 85% below the cost of the brand, why is Medicare not saving that money for the patients, for the beneficiaries? These are simple things with simple solutions. And so we're very excited about the future. We're excited to work with the new Congress. I was in DC all last week, and people in Congress understand if we have more biosimilars, better market access, they get it about the FDA and our evolution. They know they would have the cost savings. So I'll stop there because I'm very passionate about this, Matt, and I could keep going. So,
well, Juliana, Julie, you set the table well. You gave us several points to drill down on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and before we start drilling down on some of those specific points like PBM reform and the FDA review process, I saw Kaushal nodding. I saw Hetal nodding. I want to give them an opportunity to sort of reflect on your opening monologue there. Hetal, let's start with you.
Thank you, Matt, for inviting me, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I completely agree with every single point that Juliana said about the biosimilar and the reforms. And adding on to that, this is such an opportune time to talk about these biosimilars. Up until like when the Humira biosimilars were launched, the biosimilar industry learned a lot of lessons from those launches, with the 10 biosimilar being launched. In terms of, because they were the first ones to the market that were pharmacy benefit driven. So that helped us learn a lot of lessons from the provider perspective, from the patient perspective, from the manufacturer perspective, as well as from the government and regulations perspective. It showed us the importance of interchangeability and how we need to look at interchangeability, especially in these pharmacy benefit products where the patients pick up these drugs at the pharmacy instead of the provider. So that is something I know the FDA and the government is looking into, changing the definition or the guidance around interchangeability. And this will be important because this year and in the next coming years, we will be seeing approvals and launches in drugs in different therapeutic areas where we've never seen before. Just last year, we saw the first approval for the denosumab biosimilar. We have biosimilars coming in very new therapeutic areas. So building on to the provider education and all the rigorous scientific data that we've generated, and to have that comfort and confidence instilled in these providers that biosimilars are a better value-driven option, which are 85% cheaper than the reference biologics, then we should definitely take into consideration.